Welcome back to another episode of Your Daily Real Estate. I'm Tristan. This episode is brought to you by coachingbrillianttribe.com. That's where we not only coach you and guide you, but we also have a lot of arms to that side of things, which is online communities, marketing, creating opportunities on social media for you. We've got a lot of things there. If you're interested, go take a look or just reach out to me. Now, these episodes are meant to be short, 5 minutes or so. Actionable steps, motivating you in the right direction. This is no different, but this is part 4. Now, part 4 is the longer one, so I'm going to speed through it. And if you are missing anything, now I left this part out of the other 3, but I've got this for you. So if you need the PDF, I've got one for you, and it outlines it. And remember, it's a checklist. So this is for you to go through, so you make sure that you don't miss anything that's important when you're presenting to the buyers. Now, these things will change. We'll add things. We'll take away things as we morph into a whole new world with real estate. But here we go. Phase 4. I call this contract to close. And I've got a part 1, a part 2, and then closing day on this one. So there are 3 parts. Here we go. Number 1, when we open up contract or open up escrow in our state, California, we open up escrow. Your state, it may be going under contract. When we have acceptance, I'd love to then show the team introductions. I'm like, Mrs. Buyer, let me introduce you to the team. You're going to meet so-and-so, so-and-so, lender, title, escrow if you're in escrow state, attorney. Here are the different types of inspectors you may need on your home. Here is my admin. Here's our marketing person that you may need to talk to. Here is this and that. And obviously, here I am. The idea behind this on the team introductions is to showcase all of the different possible people that they may be engaging with. And even if they're not, they can understand the dynamics of your business. A lot of the times we shy away from showing this, but the complexities helps people understand that there are a lot of people at play here. And more importantly, you have to manage a lot of these emotions and a lot of the expectations. And that goes unseen sometimes. So I bring it up right here. All right. Number 2 on this one is earnest money. Explain and guide the client into depositing the money, how it looks, what it's about. And that one's pretty easy. No change. Now, inspections, I do something a little bit different here because I have 2 parts here. I have inspections and I have psychology. And I say, Mrs. Buyer, with inspections, with this specific property, we may require some inspections. Here they are. Here's what I think. But what happens is as we have the main inspector come through, you're going to have the inspector call out different things. And then we will have to pivot from there. But these, Mrs. Buyer, are the things that normally are done in this type of home. Take a look at this now. What we're looking for in the general inspection are things that are going to be a big challenge for you, for the property itself. We don't want to buy something that ends up being broken down or what they call a lemon. What we're not looking for are very small cosmetic things like the doorknob has a scratch or there's a slight tear on maybe the screen. Could we replace it? Could we ask for it? 100% if you want to. But my goal is to make sure that this goes as smooth as possible for you, and also that we can save that for any ammunition we do need for any requests along the way. So I want you to know that the purpose of the home inspection is to make you aware of everything about the home, everything that is supposedly either wrong with it or different, or remember, this is not a brand new home you're purchasing. So you're going to find things that are lived in. And I want you to understand that it's going to be okay. Now, when you go through and you have any questions, you can always come back down to me. In fact, if you have questions, when this report comes through, we're going to go over it. And I'll say, hey, look at this. This is how I feel about it. What do you think? This is my experience with it. What do you think? So I'll always come back to you and I'll always give you my experience based on the knowledge I have for many years. Now, you may have, remember we talked about family and friends. You may have family and friends that come back and say, hey, yeah, see, this is going to be a big problem. You need to ask for this to be fixed. And that's where I need you to come back to me, because I have the experience. You're hiring me to bring the knowledge and to bring, in essence, the experience you need to make this as smooth as possible and to take care of you. That is my job. So when we're looking at an inspection, just know that I'm looking at it like if I was going to purchase this for myself. So that's one thing I want you to know. And then here's what I do also for the buyer. So that's how it sounds a little bit. You can tweak that as you like, right? Obviously, you can talk to your clients how you want. Now, there's another part to this, the psychology. This is where we explain to the client that all homes have something wrong with them, all lived-in homes, and in fact, some brand new homes too. But that's a whole different story. Here is where I go through and I say, hey, this is what you're going to expect. You're going to expect the paint in some rooms to be off. You're going to expect maybe a discoloration in some of the doorknobs and some of the sink brasses. You're just going to have things that you may not visually like that are not, let me turn that off, that are not detrimental to the actual home. These are preferences. And so I want to go into that psychology. I would suggest this highly, that you take some time and you explain this process, because this could mean the difference between you backing out, but having a client who backs out and doesn't fully understand, but they should have bought the home because it's good for them, and they just don't seem to understand because no one took the time to explain it. All right. That's what I call part one of the contract to close. And here is part two, contract to close, phase 4. And I have this all outlined. So remember, if you need it, message me. I've got the whole thing for you. Then I go into appraisal, and I put this at the top of part 2 because appraisal, now what I'm looking at is it could be an issue, because we're getting offers in on some of our listings just the last few days that are over the asking price. And that could be an appraisal issue. The thing that we're seeing is offers over asking, and the client is asking for credit back, in concession to pay their real estate agent. And so that's why I put this at the top, so that I can explain it here as well, that could be a challenge. Appraisal could be a challenge. Number 2, under part 2 for the close, we get final approval, however that looks like in your state. And then number 3, we go over final walkthrough. I put the final walkthrough here so that they understand what it means, because I had an incident in the past where in I believe it was a 5-day span, when we went to do the final walkthrough, the whole home was vandalized. Every room was spray painted. It was a disaster. And obviously everyone was freaking out. So I go over final walkthroughs, what that means, just so people can get accustomed to this. Hey, you got one last look through just to make sure everything is still the same and the request for repairs were fixed if that was agreed on. All right, then I go into this part 3 of the phase 4, and this is what I call closing day and keys. So, Mrs. Buyer, this is where you're going to sign the loan documents, and I go over what's going to be signed. In the state of California, we don't usually have to show up. In your state, you may have to, or your rules, depending on your brokerage. So go over what you need to there. We do a final check, so escrow or attorney, to verify all closings and closing costs and credits and all that great stuff. We do that as well, no different. Now, the next 3, 4, and 5 on this section, this I do a little different. I say with key handovers, Mrs. Buyer, what we're trying to do with this offer that we submit for you when we find that right home for you is to get you in as soon as possible. In some cases, though, that seller may come back and say, hey, I need 3 days to move. Or they may come back and say, hey, I need a rent back and I need to stay here for 30 days or 45 days or 60 days. So this one could be different. The keys to you may differ depending on what we negotiate, but I just want to let you know that we're always looking to get them to you as soon as possible. But if it means you getting the home for a great price and you having to wait a few days, then I'm going to leave that up to you. But that's how that works. Then I go to number 4, and then I say, Mrs. Buyer, in some cases, you'll hear that real estate agents kind of stop communicating with the new homeowner, which would be you. But in my case, I'm going to be following up with you. I want to make sure everything's working well. I want to make sure that you're happy. And if you have any questions, I'm here for you through this whole process after. In fact, we'll set you up with a seller hub where you can update it with all of the documents. I can upload them for you, and you can go in there and make sure that you add the type of appliances you have, just in case something breaks, you know who to reach out to. All of our service providers are there, so I do go over that with them. That's it's called Everything Home AI is what we call it, but you can get yours at Homeowner AI if you want to check them out. And no, I have no relation with them. We just use them. And then number five is something we added maybe 3-4 years ago. Geez, I think it was after COVID. But number 5 is probably my favorite. It's the last piece to this. And I say, Mrs. Seller, I remember when I moved into my home, one of the biggest challenges for me is figuring out what was important and what wasn't. Like if something went down and all of a sudden the plumbing burst and I didn't know where to shut off the water, that would freak me out. And so I had a situation with a water heater and I didn't know what to do. So I don't want you to have that situation. So about 10 days after you move in, and when you settled in, I'm going to send over our concierge and pause there, but you can have it be a home inspector. You just pay them a little bit more or whoever. But the point is, we pay somebody that we have. Ms. Buyer, concierge goes through and they're looking for these 6 things. They're looking to show you where the shutoff valve is for the water, main water supply. For the gas, they're going to show you how to install and check your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. They're going to show you where the electrical box is and also what to look for there. And they're going to show you where the filters are for your HVAC system, AC, so you can change them because you do need to change them. It'll extend the lifetime of your HVAC system. And then lastly, the dryer vents. Some fires are caused by clogged dryer vents, so we want to show you where that is. Those are the 6 things, and we'll record that for you. So if you don't know where it is or if something goes down, you have it. You can always find it. You can always text me. I'll send it over to you. So that's how we do it. And then at that point, I slide over the buyer broker agreement, and then I go over that one more time with them and I say, does it make sense? And then we start working together. That in essence is what it is. If you need this one went way over, but again, the long one is part 4. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk again.